Cold dirt road, midnight patrol, boots on gravel, I taste the mold. Dead cattle lined up, eyes still wide. You smell the iron, I smell the light. Abnormal investigations into strange phenomenon. Yeah, we walk that line till the night is gone. Bigfoot breathing heavy in the tree line, werewolves laughing at the blue skyline. Abnormal investigation.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Abnormal Investigations. I hope you all can hear me. Can everybody hear me okay? I was having a little bit of difficulties with the audio. So, can everybody hear me okay? Just let me know in chat if you can hear me. Sarah says she can't hear me. All right, we got thumbs up, so it looks like everybody can hear me. I'm guessing so. 5 by 5. Okay, sounds good. All right, everybody. Tonight we have a show set up for you guys. We have Shell's going to be joining us tonight, and we're going to go over some of her photos and some of her stories and see what all we can get into tonight. Pretty excited about it. We got a lot of snow out here tonight. It's been really cold. Sarah come walking in. The Yeti out here is on the move, even if it's dark. She's pretty warm though. That bunny suit keeps her pretty warm. You're what? Oh, she's got a Yeti suit now, guys. But when she wears her bunny suit, if you can catch her and put salt on her tail, you can have her. Yeah. All right, guys. So um, tomorrow night, the only announcement I have is on the Beyond the Veil. We have a live premiere going to be on tomorrow night at 8 o'clock. If you're not subscribed to Beyond the Veil with Mike, you want to go over there and subscribe to catch that premiere. I've been dropping updates on the snow, as y'all know, on the Abnormal or Wide Open Adventures channel. Also, I did a live today. A lot of people liked it. Got really good views on it. But with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and bring Jesse on, and we're going to start getting things together. I will do roll call in just 1 second. I have not forgot to do roll call. All right, quiet down this screen
Hello.
just a, that was weird.
Hmm.
My mic is not working.
Well, you're cutting in and out.
Something. Is that any better?
Ooh, I can hear you a lot better now.
Okay, something happened. I knew something was going on with the audio. I couldn't tell because when I first started, I don't know, you could just hear it didn't sound right. So I guess I should do roll call real quick. We got T Bone in here. We got Lisa, and Amy Price, Gary Carpenter, Catherine's Fabulous 60s. Good to see you. Butterfly Life is in here. Good to see you. T Bone. Jenny Brown's in here. Good to see you, Jenny. Amy, I said Amy. So she's trying to sneak her name in there twice. Hey, Grace, good to see you. Nancy, good to see you also. Robbie, good to see you. The Clough is in here. The Clough Man, the 18 wheeler. Keep on turning. We got Missy Harris in here. Good to see you. Guys, we got a great show set up for you tonight. We got a few photos. Barbara Brown's in here tonight. Good to see you, Barbara Brown. Hope you're staying warm. Tammy's in here tonight. Gary Carpenter's in here tonight. Chester Robinson's in here tonight. Good to see you, Chester. So, Cloughman 6000. Is that like a Peterbilt? That old Caterpillar motor? Is that what that is? Got that Caterpillar motor going? Okay, so chat should start filling up here in just a little bit. Waiting for a few of the moderators to come in. Make sure they get their notifications. We're probably going to need moderators tonight. Be my guess. Veronica, good to see you. Donna Eckerson's good to see you. Sarah said she wants to do a solo on my channel. She didn't want to come on tonight. She's going to come on and rock it out on a solo. She said her show is going to be about little bunny Foo-Foo hopping through the forest. And she stepped on a thorn. No, you didn't step on a thorn. You stepped on a reflector. Thumbtack. Hello, Keith Blunt. Good to see you. I seen something that looked like Just Me was on there. Sorry if I missed your full name. I'll catch you here in a second. All right, guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and get this show on the road. If I'm looking down, I am not ignoring anybody. I'm not being rude to the guest, but I am back to my old tablet and paper, and I will be taking notes tonight, guys, and asking questions as the night progresses. And Jesse will try to catch your all's questions. Our moderators will try to catch them. Oh, my God, we got Dana Ortega in the house. Good to see you, Dana. And, Amy Price is here. Yeah, Clough is the man. Clough is the man. All right, let's go ahead. Let's welcome Shell, everybody, to the show. Hello, Shell.
Hi, Mike, Jess, everybody in chat. How's everybody?
Good. How it be with you?
Staying warm. Just got my trusty little double blanket on.
Yeah, I got my thermals on. I'm good for right now.
And I'm with Sarah. I like the bunny suits.
Well, yeah. Sarah, I'll have to tell her so she can hear. I got my headphones on. Sarah Shell said to tell you she loves the bunny suit. She said thank you.
The only problem is when you fall asleep with it on and you wake up and you gotta go potty really bad, trying to get that thing off and not wet yourself and you're in your 50s. Yeah, that's a problem. I'm sorry, I just had to go there. I had to be funny.
That's why you have a zipper.
Well, sometimes that zipper gets stuck.
or what is it? Some people call it a trap door.
Yeah, the ones that flip down in the back.
Yeah, I got some of those too. But anyway, I just had to be funny.
So is it
whenever somebody says bunny suits, I get visuals. I can't help it.
That was the dumbest thing I ever heard.
I always think of the bunny suit from A Christmas Story. So.
If people knew how rednecks actually operated, do you really think Sarah would let me put her in a bunny suit in the middle of the woods out here with all the poachers and stuff that run around? I mean,
redneck or not, I don't think you could ever get Sarah to put on a bunny suit.
I mean, Sarah said there's already crazy people out there. She'd already, that somebody would have her tied to the hood of their truck driving to the weigh station. Man, I got this huge jackrabbit down here.
That's funny. Clef, you're getting ideas, aren't you?
Yeah, I guess you could buy the suits in bulk for sure.
Clef, I'll sell you a bunch of those giant stuffed animals for the head of your truck. Cassie's got 1 million of them, and she won't let me throw them away.
Yeah, I'd be curious to see what Sarah goes for this Halloween. I wonder if she'll be a bunny.
After this talk, I'm afraid not.
Probably not. You know what's funny, though, is all of them give me hell over it. They're like, oh, he's got Sarah out there. He's got Sarah in a bunny suit. But what's funny is you don't never see none of them out there in the dark.
No.
I mean,
the criticizing from that whole camp is just, it rolls right off my back like a duck. I mean, seriously, they don't have anything like you do, Mike. They haven't accomplished anything like I have and Jesse has. None of them. Madeline and Nellie, they sit back there and stir their little witch's brew and create drama, but none of them have done anything.
No.
There's no successes. So they can just sit back and shut up. I don't even care. I mean, whatever.
Anybody can tell a story. Very few can go to where the stories happen.
Exactly. Yep.
True.
If it wasn't for the people on the ground, then the people that read the books wouldn't have anything to read.
And that's what separates somebody that is a true experiencer, researcher, go-getter, boots on the ground person, opposed to a content creator.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like myself. Mm-hmm.
Well, then you are a multitasker. You're kind of doing it all and being successful at it. So congratulations.
I don't know about successful, but I'm trying a few of them. It's running me into the ground for sure. Takes a lot of time, a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety, a lot of I don't know. You got to have thick skin, that's for sure.
Hmm.
I always attribute my old job to getting me through this because, I mean, my God, at least at my old job, you knew where people stood. In this field, I mean, some of them, are your friend to your face while they're stabbing you in the back. And
Right.
I
Yeah,
don't know.
1000%.
It's sad. And, the biggest problem and qualm that I have with this field, with this is people are unable to have a difference of opinion and not attack or hate each other. And, attorneys, you know, judges, detectives, investigators, police officers, they all welcome different opinions and that spirited
Different
debate.
angles. Yes,
Right.
different
Because,
angles. And so much could be solved if people would sit and communicate and not do this whole being competitive bull crap.
yeah, you're wrong. I hope you go to hell. I mean, it's like, I mean, everybody's sending somebody to hell in this field.
Hmm.
And, this field has turned into what I call the Benny Hinn of the cryptid investigations. It's like one person comes out and says, okay, I believe that these creatures in Scott Carpenter, the Nephilim. Well, whenever that comes out, everybody jumped on that bandwagon. But instead of talking from principle or from, proof or evidence, or they all want to go on and start, preaching. And when they preach, there is a person that loves to add to the Bible and take away from it to fit their narrative. And
Exactly.
it's turned into a cult mentality.
It really has, and it's like there's a line drawn in the sand. Nephilim people over here, non-Nephilim people over here, and then the woo over here, and then you got a whole different crowd over here that sees they don't do anything wrong, they don't do anything bad, and fails to realize that the Sasquatch people are no different than us. There is good and bad in everything, and all things, even dogmen. I mean, yeah, I actually happened to run into a couple dogmen that went decent one time, and I was like, couldn't believe it. I thought I was confusing species or something. So everybody needs to have more of an open mind, more of an open heart, be willing to communicate. Talking about Scott Carpenter, him and I worked together way back when we were collecting stuff for the Genome Projects and stuff like that. And he really didn't know what to think back then, but him and I started going down a different path in our thought methods and what we thought, but we both respected each other and respected our opinions like very well and very clearly. Never had a problem. There was never any of this bickering going back and forth or anything like that. But I think that's because you're dealing with two spiritually sound people that is going off their experiences and they are not cashing out completely anybody else's experience. They're still absorbing knowledge. And I think that describes Scott totally. He had his opinion, but he was still trying to collect more knowledge and more education on it. And that's been my journey too, just constantly collecting and adding to.
Right. And everybody knows it. The side of the fence I'm on is the Nephilim side. And, I kind of look at it like the guy at the tent, right? That's sitting in front of the tent, that's open to debate, prove me wrong. I mean, if we're not open to listening to other people's research, then to me, that makes you very selfish in your research. And it also makes you very
It
open
makes
to making huge mistakes and missing huge thing, even evidence. I mean, if you're like, the best way I can put it is the way I learned in school. Try to go into an investigation with an open mind. Follow the evidence, not where you want it to go, but where it leads you. That will separate good investigators from bad investigators. A good investigator can totally clear their mind and they can follow the
Yep.
evidence. A bad investigator, they go in already knowing what the result's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
A good investigator works from an open table, not a box. If you box all your evidence in one box and you're going to sit there and only take your information from that box and not a wide open table or even a wall and a chalkboard and somebody's clipboard, well, then you know what? You really have boxed yourself in. You kind of ended yourself right there.
Yeah.
Right. Clough, if you go to sleep, that's 2 strikes. Yeah,
Clough asked a question, and I don't know what
oh,
an
did he?
iron beat is. He said, "Did Phil
He was,
ever run into an iron beat?"
it was an iron. I think it was an iron bear.
Oh,
Uh,
iron bear. No, no iron bears for me.
I heard a guy say they have good food. That's all I
Yeah.
know about it.
No, never been there. Don't care to go either.
Yeah, Travis Carpenter, I've spoke to him and went down that lane. Me, as far as my research, what I do is I try to go from a biblical aspect. And the hardest thing in this field, and I'm speaking from an investigator's experience. I was an investigator. The hardest thing for me to work in this field, to investigate in this field, is it goes against everything I was taught as an investigator. Whenever you go into an investigation, most of the time when you show up, the officers have already arrived. They have already collected witness statements. They already have a motive pretty much established as to what had happened. Your job from that point is to put that together based upon facts and then to go in and to prove or disprove those facts. So whenever you go in as where a crime had happened, a crime scene, for instance, you collect the evidence, you collect the witness reports, and then you go in and you collect the tangible evidence, right? You go in for the DNA, the blood, the weapons, then you have to find the motive, and did they have intent, and did they have the will to do it? Did they have the capabilities to do it? And once you determine all that, you're basing on facts. But in this investigating over here, you have to go against what you're taught because you do have to use speculation because we don't have, we have witness reports, but everybody always comes against a witness. This guy's a liar. This guy's a liar. This guy's a liar. I mean, there's no definitive proof, in my opinion, other than I go from the biblical Bible. I take parts of Genesis, I take parts of Enoch, and I have to put it together as to where it makes sense to me. Not meaning it makes sense to everybody else, but I'm trying to establish a concrete ground to begin with, because I was always taught to investigate, you have to have something concrete to go from. Because if you start, in something that's sinking already, then you're not going to establish fact. You're going to establish, at the best, a hypothesis. A hypothesis in court is not good enough. It is speculation. You have to have
Right.
beyond a reasonable doubt. And it makes it so hard to bring that into this field. And I do the best I can with what I have. And at the end of the day, it's an opinion.
Well, when you speak law, it's very black and white.
Right.
Cryptozoology is more of a gray area than it could ever lean black or white. There is so much gray to it. And I will tell you, sometimes I have got the evidence, which we'll see tonight. There, for every one time I got the evidence, there may be 75 to 100 times I didn't, and what I have is hearsay. And so I'm very careful on what I do share about my experiences because the last thing I want to do is really power or suggest anybody. I will answer anybody's questions to my ability, what I have experienced, what I have learned, but I also will say, this is my opinion, or this is what I think. Or if it's something that I have really ironed out, I will say, in my findings, this, you know, taking things from theory to disclosure is it's not an easy journey. It's not something you snap your fingers and you're done with in any investigation, let alone cryptozoology.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and and at the end of the day, it doesn't matter what any of us find because this field is not a field of working together and communicating together and networking together. It is whoever gets ahead or makes a breakthrough or makes a discovery, they must be destroyed and brought down because they're smarter than me. And that makes it so hard because you're guaranteed if you find something, you're going to be attacked and everybody's going to try as hard as they can to discredit you. And that's the hardest.
Yep,
Melba Ketchum went through it. Scott Carpenter went through it.
Mm.
Everybody
we all
tries to
have.
discredit everybody. Yeah, I mean it's terrible.
And it doesn't end. It's a constant thing. And if they can't discredit you and you've rattled enough cages, then they want to end you. And they will try and pull up dirt anywhere they can to try and discredit you. And it
Right.
Yeah.
makes me think some of these people may be just government plants and they're getting a paycheck in the month every time the mail comes. We don't know.
Right. And I don't know. I last time I checked, I was a corn farmer. So I mean, everything that goes on in this field is just absolutely crazy. Hey, hello, Larry. Larry Fisher's in the house. Good to see you, Larry.
Hi,
Gabriel,
Larry.
good to see you. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. But without further ado, let's get into your stuff, Shell. What do you have for
Okay.
us tonight?
Um, okay, so we were going to talk about the rake, the crawler, the ghoul. It has been called many things. When I first started out, people were calling it the ghoul, and I wasn't plugging in that the ghoul is the same thing because back then there was no footage, there's no pictures. Um, J.C. Johnson helped me plug the two together on pictures that we couldn't share here on YouTube because they are too graphic in nature. And he helped me solve what was, unaliving some animals and the manner in which it did it. And we can describe, we're just going to have to be careful. Um, so he was telling me it's a ghoul. And then I started realizing that everybody was calling it the rake, and so then it became the rake. It was a rake for like 3 decades, and now they're calling it the crawler. But what's really, and I really wanted to come on your show and talk about this, is because so many people are now calling it a skinwalker because it's all skin. You don't see any hair, you don't see nothing else. And I think the average day, every bear that's not into cryptozoology is hearing skinwalker and thinking that's what it is. And no, skinwalker is something completely different. And we'll talk about that towards the end of the show. But let's focus on the rake and what they really are and what my experience with them has been. And I guess we could start by showing them the picture of the white one. Can you pull up the picture of the white one? Because the rest of the story is not going to make sense unless we start with the color white. Okay, so you see a birch tree, and to the right of that, just over the R in rake, just under the ALK under walkers, there is one coming up out of the ground. Now, this is not a picture I aimed and took. I was on a Facebook live feed, was talking to my students because I had some weird prints that morning, was looking at these prints, had turned my phone, and then looked back down and heard somebody say, Shell, go straight behind you. And I focused it back there again. And one of my students took this screenshot. I seen it coming up out of the ground, and I know how fast they move from my other experience with these things. And I took off running, using the house as a way to get away from it. In your live the other night, the thing sitting on the branch or that log out there that waved at you, um,
Mhm.
I definitely think this is what you're dealing with because of the manner in which it came at you, how it'd go diagonal and then it'd come diagonal another way. This is literally how they stalk. They do diagonals. Um, each crypto cryptid thing out there has their own way of stalking, and the rake definitely stalks that way. I was able to get away from it, but when I got in the house, I ran to the back windows. You could only see it through a phone. You could not see it to the naked eye. Um, I was looking everywhere and I couldn't find it. I don't know where it went. That kind of really got out of control as far as feeling safe at my own home because I had dealt with these things out in the field many times, but seeing them around my own home, it just raised um, the bar as far as taking my animals out in the night and everything I did out there at night. It kind of changed things.
Okay. I seen some white things at my granny's before I spoke about, that it got taller and taller and taller, and we wasn't sure what they were. And they would move through the hog pasture, but they didn't make any sound. It was almost as if they were gliding.
Yeah, they're very quiet. You will hear clicking back and forth to each other, and they are mimickers just like the Sasquatch. They will mimic voices, our names, call us, say things, try to lure us. One of their securities is luring you closer to the darkness or closer to where there's a lot of trees or underbrush or whatever. They feel more protected like that. When you see them running and zooming, is usually when they don't have cover. And these guys will. I mean, a lot of people have got footage of them running on two legs. A lot of times they're on the floor, their feet and their hands, and they're called a crawler for that reason. As you can see, his leg is sticking up and climbing over a branch here. You can see the elongated calf muscles, and they're literally like bone and skin with particular weird muscles developed, especially the gluteus maximus, and their butt muscle is very thick, and I think that's from what they do and how they move. I've seen them crawl on the ground like a spider. In one of your videos, you said you could hear them like coming across the ground, and you didn't know if it was Sasquatch or what it was. These guys can definitely do some of the same abilities some of the other critters can do. They can go like spider.
Kind of like the other night whenever I saw the one sitting on the log. What really got my attention is how it was just sitting there, and then how it just waved at me like, hey. I mean, it was just a casual wave, and I just, my God, so many things cross my mind right whenever that happens, because number one, I have things to protect myself with out there, right? I don't want to run into a human and them do something that puts me in fear for my life. Because I have been threatened, my life threatened so many times. I try not to put myself in a situation to where I may have to defend myself. So there's back before all the people started following me to the woods and everything, I would push harder, right? But right now, it's, do I push? And if I push and it's somebody and they do something stupid, it really hurts the investigation. And I think they know this. But a lot of times when I am out there, like the other night when I saw that sitting on the log, it was like, no doubt that was not a human, because I could just tell by the way it looked, the way it moved. It didn't move like a human. It moved in like sections, like it was like that, like jerky. It was real jerky. And I could tell, okay, something's off with this isn't right. And its arms were too long, okay? Its arms did not match its body. And I don't know if you noticed or if you could tell in the video. I know it's hard for y'all to see, but you notice whenever that thing is sitting, right? It's sitting kind of like a lady would in a dress, right? It's kind of got its legs together, kind of sitting proper, on the log. But if you look at that one arm is all the way down to the ground with it sitting on a log.
Mhm.
Yeah, these things like they move on full all fours so very well because their arms are so extremely long. It really kind of goes with their arm leg and ratio like the Sasquatch does. For a while, we had a theory that we were working on. No, this was like decades ago. We thought, well, maybe there's some kind of Sasquatch with an autoimmune disease, and they didn't have any melanin in their skin. They don't have any hair. I mean, we were trying to figure out what this thing was for the longest time. I was fortunate enough to have someone that was way up in the alphabet stuff that could confirm for me that the government knew about these things. These were a species number two, and the Bigfoot was a species number five, and that separated it for me right there. So, because they were a person of high trust and high integrity, and for them to have Geneva clearance and all that they had, they were definitely somebody that knew their business. I was warned at this time what these things actually were. I was told that they were an alien hybrid mixed with human. So they did have human DNA in them, so they can think like us. They have a vocal cord like us. Um, they also can make these weird clicking noises that I have heard when aliens are around too. So they have a couple of ways of communicating, and that makes them dangerous because they can communicate all the way around us and us really not even notice or get it because it may sound like a bug. It may sound like a woodpecker. It can sound like all different kinds of things. And when I was told exactly what they were, it was a modern day vampire. Now, it would be years after I was told that I would start finding their kills and what we can't put on YouTube. You could
Hmm.
see in the pictures, and I'll try to walk you through those pictures, Mike.
Uh-huh.
So, what it was a raccoon, and the plug was taken out of its stomach, a bite. We couldn't find the plug anywhere on site. The raccoon was held in a position where something had picked it up by the back of the neck, pulled its head back, and broke its neck, and was so intent on getting that first bite that it broke its hip and pelvis on the left leg. And so then it was displayed out on the ground. All of the organs were pulled out and organized on the ground that still had the nerve attached to the organ, like the dental floss, the white looking. I don't know. I'm medical. You guys might not get it, but there's a nerve and it looks like dental floss. Okay, it was attached to everything. But what was missing were all the veins, all the arteries, and there was no blood. There was no blood underneath it. There was not one drop of blood left. Like whatever took those organs out, it licked the blood off before it laid them down. And the other thing was the fact that where the bite mark, the original plug had been taken out of his abdomen, all around the fur it had been like sucked. And so the fur had been like sucked up to little points and was pink, where you could see where it had been stained with blood, but something got every last little drop of blood. And it had to have had a mouth like we have, because your every average day predator around here would be bobcats, a random mountain lion. Um, we don't have bear. You just don't have that many things there in the animal field that can do that would be able to suck it like that. um you have coyotes and things like that that have mouths that would bite, would eat the meat. The meat was not touched, the meat was gone, only where it was bit in the abdomen, right where the sternum comes down, like it was a planned ritualistic thing that it does. The heart was intact, still in the cavity, but nothing was attached to the heart. All the veins, all the arteries, everything was gone.
Man, and for everybody in chat, if you have questions, please hold them till the end of the show, and we will take them. I can't get to them as we're talking because I don't want to. I don't want to lose my train of thought, and I don't want to cause Shell or Jesse to lose their train of thought. So, just save your questions for the end of the show, and we will try to get to those at the end, and hopefully, we can answer everything for you. I apologize if I missed anything.
Thank you for saying that, Mike, because I can't possibly think in my head, go back to these moments and be clarifying on it. If I'm trying to watch chat, I can do it. Um, so then brings me to, okay, so the location of the first kill, and why did I think it was the rake that had done it? Well, I was actually there. My family, well, most people know they're Native Americans. They had built this entire forest preserve that is now a national preserve. And it's a very remote location. And there had been reports of various different, from the farms in the area, different types of screens and stuff that didn't line up with Sasquatch, didn't line up with dogman activity. So I went to investigate myself. While I was there, early morning is when I got there, and it's so long, it takes so long hiking in that place. It was around 10 o'clock in the morning when I found this kill. And what was around it was very human looking footprints. Now, the time of year was in the terrain to get there. There would be no way a human could do it barefoot. Their feet would be bleeding. I mean, and these were not Bigfoot. This was not. Didn't have a metatarsal break. It had an arch to it. It literally looked human. So then when I started having, following more prints like that, I started finding more kills that were identical. And then I started applying it to other areas and different locations. And then I started seeing them, getting footage of them. You can add up some of the prints or the pictures or the prints, and we can talk about that real quick, Mike, and then I'll go into some of their capabilities.
Okay, there was a couple of things. I got some questions. So
Okay, let's go.
all right, so you caught me on some things that really made me think here that I've experienced, and you kind of knocked on the door of is. First of all, I would like to talk about the other day whenever I went on this isn't the question, it's going to lead up to it, but the other day when I went to that new place and I was scouting it out, I was informed by a viewer that they had witnessed a raccoon that had been speared and was up and down between two rocks. And then also they had stated they seen a werewolf hunting with a spear in this location. So it interested me knowing that it was actually using what I would call weapons/tools. That was always interesting to me. So as I went to that location and we done a daytime investigation there, which was on my other channel, Beyond the Veil, I found a large fish that was stashed underneath a tree, and its whole back, one bite, right through the spinal cord, right behind the back of the head, was gone. And the really weird thing to that was there was muscles that had also been gathered by the fish and had been opened and ate, like it had had a bite of the fish and then ate the muscles. So that was one of the things I found that was exciting. And another thing I'll throw at you to kind of talk on is, could you go more into the rake being the modern day vampire?
Yes, I'm going to go there.
Yeah, something that I'm working on. Really, that caught me when you said that, because I never knew that, and I was like, wow, that kind of goes along with what I've been looking at.
Okay, so if you want to bring up, there's two pictures where, first, let me say this to the viewers. The misconception here is that the rake it's not going to always be white. It can, what we call it, it's not a cloaking mechanism. and when I look back on the reasons why I probably didn't see it back there in the backyard after I get away from it, is they have this ability to almost be camoed into whatever they're close to. They can change their color. Um, I started putting two and two together when I started going back to when I was just a preteen, and me and my mom had our first run-in with a rake. It was solid black. It was in the night. Her headlights in her car hit it coming up out of the ditch, and she locked up the brakes. And we went sideways in her Camaro, and that thing ran right past my window, and I lost sight of it because it blended into the night. And she had to get the car straight on the road again before we could even take off. I mean, we almost ditched it, trying not to hit what she thought was a human, a dark colored human with no clothes on. So that was the first time. Um, then the next time it happened to my dad and my mom together on the same road, close to the same spot, because we had told my dad about it. He thought we were nuts, like he always said, and always did. But then it happened to him, and then he's like, "Oh, what was that?" But so yeah, that happened to my mom and dad, and it was the same thing. It blended into the night. So moving ahead in time, then it was the year 2009, and we were having a snowstorm like the one we just had, and it had just ended. It was super duper cold. The snow was fresh, crunchy. There was a full moon shining down on everything, and so I could see the night very well. The neighbor they had a garage out by my mom's property line, and it was not insulated. So the top of the garage, because it was heated, like it melted off. It was black. And I always turned on the back floodlights before I would ever unlock the door and open the door, and I'd take my time at it. And that was purposely just so the Sasquatch would get away if they're out there or whatever, and give them time to get away so that I felt safer with taking my dog out there or letting my dog out. So I opened the door, reached for the leash, the floodlights were on, and one of those floodlights happened to be aimed right at that dark roof on purpose, because that was one of the hiding places of the Sasquatch. And the light shone on it right away, and it had highly reflective eyes. Now, I think you'll notice in your live the other night, and I've said it before, Sasquatch does not have reflective eyes. They can kick up a bioluminescent, make their eyes glow, but you can shine a flashlight right at them, and they don't reflect. Their eyes just stay dark. Well, this thing has highly reflective eyes, and so that immediately caught my attention, and now its whole body is white on this roof, and it stops, and it freezes, and it looks at me, and it's naked, and it's on the slope of the side of the roof that I'm looking right at, and it was approximately 60 feet away, and I'm just in shock, and I'm staring right at it, and it moves on its toes and its fingertips faster than anything I've seen, like a spider, and it went up over the roof and out of sight. And I'm staring, and all of a sudden it pops its head up, and there's its eyes reflecting back at me again. Shut the door, locked it, everything, told the dog, sorry, if you go on the floor, I'll clean it up, baby. You're not going out there. It really freaked me out. So the more I started seeing them, and the more run-ins we had with them, the more I was starting to accept, okay, this is something that is tending to show up everywhere. I was taking my son's girlfriend home. She lived out by the river 6 miles from here. And when I turned on River Road and just started accelerating, one came from the left side of the road where there was a farm, and it ran in front of me, but I was already up to about 30 miles an hour, and it paced along with the truck so fast that it hit the front of the hood and like shoved off of it, running right in front of us, right in front of our headlights, right at dusk. So me and Kayla both had a really great look of it. And it was one of the white ones. And it zoomed off into the ditch and up into the woods. The thing of it was, when it hit the ditch, it was no longer white. It was now gone. It was obviously the color of what was behind it. We didn't know that they had that ability yet. That is further down the road. So I'm starting to like get to the point where I'm having all of these encounters with this thing. I'm finding the kill, and the what every kill has in common is the blood, the veins, the arteries, the blood. There's no blood on the scene. There's no mess on the scene, and they suck the blood right off the fur to these little points or peaks. So that's why I say modern day vampire. Then I start getting footage, and you can show some of that footage of the brown ones up against the tree. They took the color of the bark on, and I was able to, I had a decent camera on me at that point, and knew they were there, and was able to, get it through my back bedroom window with a nice camera, pulling it in close so that I could get some footage of these things, because these literally are probably the hardest cryptid to get footage of.
So they're almost kind of remind me of like the goat sucker, the chupacabra.
Yes, I was thinking on a lot of times, did the chupacabra get misidentified, and these are the actual things we're dealing with? Because I also, like the chupacabra, sometimes some of their kill will have like a hole poked in it, like something poked in and sucked out. I had found squirrels laid at my door that had those holes poked in them, but were completely sucked dry and emancipated, just sucked down to nothing, like something sucked everything out of it. And you'd have where that hole was, like a lot of mouth action and degeneration of the tissue where it had been sucked on.
So do you think that they're actually sucking the blood through the canines, or do you think that they just use those to pierce and then they just suck like with their lips as they tear the flesh or the veins?
I think it's both. In that one picture where it's got its jaw dislocated and its mouth open.
The black photo, I believe, is which one? Let me see. This one here?
There's two of them they look just alike. It's just they're a comparison because one has its mouth open and one doesn't. No, that was one looking in the hamper of one of my students. That's her picture. And she of course gave me. She's part of Whisper Walkers. She gave me, permission to use it. It was up looking in her windows, and she really had the time of her life trying to get out of that place and get out of there alive, because they will hunt in a pack. Um, you see them by themselves most of the time, because one will go out like we're kind of, it's going to go on recon, and then the others will follow, or it'll have like a pack leader. They're not always alone, but a lot of times they are. And in her situation, she was dealing with a whole pack of them and trying to get her. She had to wait for daylight, and then she was trying to get her whole, like, when you drop a fifth wheel and you got to, do everything, get it hooked back up and all that stuff. Yeah, she was alone, and she had a really hard time. And she did get one picture of them through the um, camper window at that night.
So since we're talking about a fifth wheel and everything, is this where I ask you the controversial question about what do you think about the LBL massacre survivor? No, we're going to skip that. But yeah, I know what you're
you don't want my opinion. Yeah, we're going to leave that one alone.
So these rake, do you believe that they are responsible for a lot of the maybe chupacabras that are misidentified, maybe, or sometimes they say, hey, it's got to be the chupacabra when it could be the rake, or when they say it was the rake, it could have been the chupacabra. Do you believe that they
I think there is a high probable thing going on that it may be the very species that we should be looking for. Then there's a high probability that there could be something else out there that does killing the similar way. Um, I think it's probably these things. I think the chupacabra is something that probably got misidentified, probably something with mange, a coyote, something like that. People's imagination gets carried away all the time. We know that. And when you have to go back on an encounter, people that are not used to this, their encounters usually last seconds. And what the brain is able to take in the middle of shock and awe and in seconds, it's not a lot. And that's why you see a lot of people that give a description of a Sasquatch, or they got to draw a picture of Sasquatch. What they remember most is the human feature, the human face. And so they'll automatically put sclera in the eyes and pupils and things like that, things that we know they don't have. I mean, it's very evident with lots of evidence. So,
Right. One of my arguments, and I'm not saying this to take a dig at anybody. I'm taking this as an actual just spirited debate. If he will have it that way, I'm sure he won't. But so there is a gentleman that has a page. It's called a Love Foundation, is what he keeps. We'll put it at that. His belief is that all of these creatures do not exist; that they're all disembodied Nephilim. And, I'm not going to knock him. I'm just going to put this out there and say why I disagree with that is because if they were, then what I witnessed, many of my family witnessed, many of my friends witnessed, many investigators have witnessed, they would have no need to eat.
Mm-hmm.
I concur. That is one thing I can completely concur on, Mike. All these things, they've got to have a water flow. They hang where the water flow is. That's where you're going to find them. They hang where they're going to find not only meat but vegetation, because most of these things are omnivore. However, I have found that the rake is not an omnivore. What I've seen of the rake is that it's a bloodsucker. And that would explain why it's so gangly and because of the lack of protein and stuff. Like I said, if you pull up the other pictures, pull up the brown ones, and we can look at that
Brown.
jaw. We can look at the teeth and the jaw and how it just, all of it transferred to be the same color of the tree bark.
I bet you
Um,
this one here, maybe? Is this one of them? God, that's
yes,
scary. I hate that one. Yeah, that one will get your
yes,
attention.
Yeah.
yes, and that one doesn't have its jaw open. The sun was shining on its mouth and chin. It's very demonic looking. However, you see how it blends in with whatever colors that are around it.
Which, D.A. Roberts, he came out, and I agree with D.A. Roberts on the adaptive camouflage ability that they have. D.A. Roberts, last I had spoke to him, he was more, a flesh and blood person, not necessarily a Nephilim person, but he did believe that they had traits of like a chameleon or an
Yeah.
animal, that would be able to do that. And then his adaptive camouflage theory that he had introduced, which I believe that they can do that. Me and him we kind of split at the road where I believe in the adaptive camouflage. He believes in the adaptive camouflage. He believes it comes from probably the animal kingdom, to where I believe it comes from the animal kingdom / perversion of the DNA. That's kind of where we split up. But
And
DA
I'm
is very smart man. I don't want to take anything from him. Very smart man. I appreciate him and I respect him tremendously. I want to say that.
okay now. Infinite Seven says the rake is from the portals. Yes, I have found that these are interdimensional, just like all the other things. You can have a portal out there. Well, I've been dealing with some of this stuff most recently, but yeah, some of these things turn up after you've seen a portal or experienced a portal. However, they are fully capable of living here in our realm, and they do make a nest, and they do burrow into the ground. Sasquatch do this. We know the rake does it. We've seen them come out of the ground. I don't know about the canine cryptids or aliens or whatever. have not witnessed that. And I am one of those people, I got to see it to believe it. I'm sorry. I'm just
Right.
that way. It's a terrible flaw. But with these things, they were coming up out of the ground behind us, in the trees that I had behind my house, and which are no longer there. And I'm good with that. Um,
Right.
can you pull up the other picture like this?
I can pull up in. Well, I can try. There ain't no telling what I'm going to pull up, but I'll pull up. Let's see here. You got that there. I want to make sure. I think this is the one you're talking about. Hopefully, I get it right this time. This one, or is that the same one?
That's the same one. So far, I didn't see anything change.
No, that's
Uh,
a different one. No, that one looks like a.
I think that one's
Okay,
different.
I'm not seeing it. That's just
The
still the same one. The other one, the mouth is wide open.
Yeah, this one looks like the mouth is wide open.
Okay, well, I'm not. Okay, try the other photo then because I'm not.
I'm looking at up there in that top right hand corner. I can see lower canines. You see that?
Yeah.
That caught my attention right off.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, yeah, that is. That's. I think that's a stick.
See, I got pareidolia sometimes. I fit in sometimes.
That
Well,
looks
if
like
you're not there and you don't know what was there, it's that's easy to do.
I got this one. That was
I
not
think
it.
I think
And
that's the same one as before.
then we had the rake, and then I had this one here of the 5, and then I have the footprint left. That was the 5 that I have.
Okay, so one the confusion is probably because one is a comparison; they're almost identical, but the one shows its jaw like it seen us outside at that point in time, and it dislocated its jaw. It had its mouth hanging wide open. I'll have to
Yeah,
resend that to you, and
that's
it
This it
had.
that's what that one looks like. It looks
right
like it's
here.
almost screaming at you.
Well, you can see like it has jagged teeth all the way across.
Yeah.
Um, and the pictures are almost identical. Oh, the thing, like I said, it's a comparison, one than the
Okay.
other.
Can you send it to Jessie? She'll be able to upload it. I wouldn't be able to because I run 2 different things here. I have a cell phone, a laptop, and everything's combined.
Sure. Hang
Don't
on
ask
just a
me. Don't
second.
ask me how I do it. I don't even know how I do it sometimes.
I will get it done. Uh,
I seen some people in chat talking about the monster crew, the mountain monster crew. That's a story in its own, right there. That is really interesting to why they actually stopped because they found something they wasn't supposed to. You're only supposed to look for it. You're not supposed to find it.
there you go, Jessica. I sent you the one where he's got his mouth like open and engaged or
Let me pull.
dislodged.
Let me drop this one down here.
Yep. Yeah, that's I don't know, maybe you just were yeah, that was the one he had shown.
Now this one is different. This one, it's turned its head towards where I was, the position I was. The other one was more of a profile, and now it's opened its mouth wide open, like it just disengages its jaw, and it's like a black gaping hole.
Oh, 1 second.
And you can actually see the eyes on this one. If you scroll into it, you can get a better head-on look of it. Maybe if you put the pictures side by side, Mike, can you do that?
I couldn't. Jesse may be able to. You're asking a lot of a hillbilly right now.
Hold on, let me
See, this one's
If
more of the profile,
if you only
and then
knew the
it turned
fights
its
that I
head.
had with this computer. Sometimes we have around 12 at night. And everybody in the chat, real quick, if you get a chance, please wish Larry Fisher a happy birthday, please.
Larry, happy birthday.
okay.
Yeah, he turned 49 today.
I popped it in there for you.
See, I know how to do that. Okay, so yours popped in. Right there. So this is the one that you just sent right here.
Dana Ortega asked me, what do I think about the scientist, creating the rake? I do believe it was a scientist, but I'm not going to say that I think it was human.
Hmm. Lizard Man. Is that the right photo there? That's the one,
Yeah,
Jess.
this is the one. This is the one where his mouth is like hanging open and disengaged, and um, it's a little more to the left than the other picture, because it had leaned forward and turned its head, and honestly, I think it noticed that I seen it, and you can actually, if you scroll into it, you can actually see some teeth there hanging, and you can scroll in and you can see its eyes are small.
Let me adjust.
So,
So it's got like these deep caverned eyes that are darker than its skin or on its face. They're like it's like a gray, but then its eyes are black and smaller inside.
Ooh,
So when they have their reflective eye shine, it would just be like one of us, and our round iris is reflecting, not the whole eyeball like some of the other things we've seen that are bioluminescent. So
it's
it's a complete different look in the
more
night.
zoomed in. Go ahead, put that one up there.
Jamie, welcome to the family. God bless you for joining. I hope you enjoy it. We have a member family, members family video coming out soon. Let's see here.
So going on, a lot of people ask this question to me, and this is out of my experience. Okay, they say, "What's the scariest thing out there? What do you think the scariest thing is?" For
I can't
me,
say.
it is the rake. From what I've seen, how it moves, what it's capable of, and could you get a shot off in time to save yourself? Well, here's the thing. Their heads are not much bigger than ours. They're bald. It makes it harder to even get an aim in on them, especially when they're zigzagging as they move. When they're moving quick and they're zigzagging around, it's going to be really hard to get them in the head. I don't think that personally you shooting them in the body is going to be a guarantee, especially if they're not created by something that we're familiar with that would be like human, like its body looks, because we've found out with dogmen and something that has created it. When they are dissected, they literally have these giant plates of armor, like in their chest and the front of their heads. Um, I would think it would take a headshot on this thing, but who is going to be a good enough shot to get it off when this thing is moving and you're trying to move and it's coming at you quickly? That's why I fear this one more than anything else.
And you've got lights all over you, and you've got a camera in your face, and you're looking at a cell phone, and because most
Yeah,
of the
usually
time,
when we're out
you
there,
know,
we got so much equipment on us.
right,
We
our defensive equipment, sadly, is the hardest to get to, and it's the less common thing that we can carry with trying to perform, the show that we're trying to do. Because I'm going to tell you something right now that scared me, and it really kind of upset me at myself, Shell. I was upset. I told Jesse I was upset. Okay, the other night, I made a mistake. And yeah, it happens every now and then. I do make a mistake once a year or so. But the other night, I made a mistake that I should have never made. And my buddy that I worked with, he called me, and I told Jesse he chewed my ass. Um, I worked with our SOT team, and it's Special Operations and Tactics is what we done. We went to the fights, the bad calls, all that. we were more trained than your original officer. So the other night, whenever Dana, I believe Dana was the first one to say it, said that she saw the three men in the woods. I was pretty sure that there was somebody out there. I was seeing movement. I had already seen, some things that didn't quite go with cryptids. And that's why I had not entered the woods as quickly. If you'll notice, when I got to that point, I slowed the whole progress of the showdown because I knew something wasn't right. It wasn't a cryptid. It wasn't an animal. It felt wrong. And then whenever Dana put that in there, I believed her 100% because, number one, I believed Dana, and number two, what she said matched what I was feeling. So when I was headed out of there, Shell, this is the part that bothered me. When I went back and reviewed footage, when I exited the area, I exited too fast. I did not exit properly. And because I was blinded by I'm wearing a white light on my head, which my buddy told me that has to go. Too much white light. I'm blinding myself in the darkness. He said, go with the red light. Let the people be upset. It's safety. Because that huge white light on my head, it gives me a short range of visual. To the point to when I got in my vehicle and I left Shell and we went back and reviewed footage, sitting about 40 feet from me was their vehicle on the roadway with their lights out.
Yeah,
I missed that.
Well, you're only human. One. The one thing that made red flags go off for me is that, okay, first there was one light, then there was two, and they were a great distance apart, but they were exactly the same height. And then a third one pops up, and it's exactly the same height. Well, humans are all gonna shine a flashlight waist high and out in front of them, and so my bells went off just as yours did, right at that same time, going, "Oh, that's humans," And to me, whoever is doing this, they're they're not happy with you getting attention or good attention or building your channel. It's somebody that's got some jealousies and some insecurities, maybe even some vendetta. But whoever they are, they're really silly because they're out there trying to mess with you. But what is bringing you out there, they're completely ignoring. And they are putting themselves so far into danger, it's not even funny. Number one, from the things that are out there, and number two, from you. What if you were to pull off your pew pew and think that it is something that's not, and you actually hit a human? There would be loss of life, there would be catastrophic things going on. Your life would just come to a halt. Their lives, their families, and friends, everything would come to a halt. The whole community that you live in down there, I understand it's a smaller community, would be devastated, and it would be such a bad thing. These people are not thinking with their brain at all.
It doesn't help when people incite violence either, and pass
No,
around,
it doesn't.
pass around lies as truth. And there's going to be a day that comes that I'm going to be able to rectify everything and show the truth, and it's going to blow some people's mind. I can't go into everything right now, but I can tell the community that what people say is what I'm in trouble for is not what I'm in trouble for.
Oh,
Oh,
absolutely. I don't doubt that for a minute. You're too kind of a person, and I just don't see you having that kind of bone in your body to do what they're saying you're capable of.
I
Can we bring up the picture of the footprints so people can look at the rake footprints while we sit here and talk?
we'll go ahead and get into that. I don't want to go that way tonight because there's so much I want to say I can't. So these are I looked at these earlier. That looks like something I have seen many times on the lake.
Well, the night before, okay, so this was done in some landscape area that we had raked out, and it had rained a little bit, and it had like padded out the dirt, and so we really had left it one day because it was like, okay, I don't want to plant when it's too muddy like that or whatever. So we left it, and it got really hot outside. And I'm like, I don't want to put brand new plants out there when it's hot. And so I left it. So like 4 days had gone by since it had been raked, and nobody walked in that area of planting, especially at my house. Because we know what we're doing. And the night before, my daughter had this gigantic 4x4, right? And sometimes she would pull up towards the end of the yard out by the road and jump out and like literally jump because I literally had to crawl up into this thing. It's like boob height on me. I'm 5'9", so it was way off the ground. And so thinking that we were having some prowlers because something was coming up way close to the house repeatedly. Typically, your dogmen and Sasquatch don't get way up on the house all the time or night after night, but something was or somebody was because you can never rule out humans either. So we sat up in there in that tall truck that had black tinted windows, and we just sitting there watching the house. It was completely lit, and all of a sudden I see a shadow from the left side of the house, and that shadow is coming across the ground, and it's moving slow, but I can't make it out. And so I'm looking, and then as it gets closer to me, the light from the front of the house starts shining on it, and it changed. And it was a rake or a crawler, and it was literally walking on its feet and its hands and moving its knees up to elbow back and forth like literally like a spider would. And when I looked down on it, it stopped right beside the truck. And I wouldn't even breathe. And the windows were up. Thank God. Everything was up and it was locked, everything. And I'm looking down on it. When it got next to the truck, it started smelling the air and it started making those clicking noises. And that's how I know that those clicking noises come from the rake. That's when I finally put two and two together that, oh my God, sometimes that clicking out there, it's this thing. And it was clicking and clicking, and then it stopped, put its head back down, and went ahead and like zoomed on away. But where the concrete met the grass, the thing was two different colors. Its arm and the grass was the color of the grass, like you can see right through it. And then the concrete, its body was the color of the concrete. And then its back foot was like getting into the shadows that the truck was making, and it was completely black. You couldn't even see it.
Uh-uh.
And so the next morning, going out to investigate, these prints were all over. And can you see how human they look? And they're not Sasquatch. They don't have a mid-tarsal break. But there was two different distinct sizes, one smaller, one bigger. I think maybe male, female, or juvenile adult. But they're not giant prints. They could easily be discerned as human. And so I never released these as anything because you really can't. I mean, it goes with the story. I have no proof of what it is. So why would I even bother putting this out there and somebody go, oh, you're hoaxing Sasquatch prints? No, no, no. Wasn't like that at all. These are something else.
So, have you ever had one of these you think try to get into your home, or anybody that you work with ever had one of these actually come to their house and try to come inside?
I have had my speculations on, like I said, there was something jiggling door handles and doing stuff that the cryptids don't typically do. Cryptids want in, they come in. They'll literally walk through walls. Couldn't believe that when it happened to me and I seen it for the first time, but that's exactly what they do. These things, they do. They mess with everything. They mess with car handles. Um, there was one time I seen one out by the car. I left my car in the driveway and my dog went off. And my dogs are hand commanded. Like I just like move my hand to shut up, you shut up. I open my hand to bark, then you're let loose. You can tear it up, whatever it is. But I can remember making the hand commandments to Nick and saying, no, silence. And I sneaked up to the window that was over the kitchen dining room that was looking down at my car. And one of these things was down on its heel, raising up off its knee, using the handle of my car to pull itself up and look inside. It was looking inside the car. What was it looking for?
Right.
We hadn't been outside for hours. This was like 3 o'clock in the morning.
Do you think children are at more risk by these than humans? Do you think maybe?
Absolutely.
Because I was
I think
reading
these
today.
things are, I think these things are a big part of missing 411, and nobody realizes it.
Well, I was reading a story today that was really kind of bothersome. It was in Africa, and it was the rake, and they call it the baby snatcher, because at night when everybody would go to sleep, it was hot, so they would leave their windows open, and they would go in to check on the baby. And the baby's gone, and there's those weird footprints. They compared the footprint to what they said were juvenile footprints, and I think the reason they say that is because they look human and they're smaller. But another thing that they said was really weird was in front of the feet where only the tips of the fingers that would hit the ground, they ran ape-like. And whenever it had the baby and they tracked it when it was carrying the baby, and what made them realize it was carrying the baby, you had 2 sets of feet print, 1 set of fingers, meaning the other arm was holding the baby as it was running using just 1 arm.
Well, think about this. A baby, roughly raccoon size, perfect size meal for these skinny creeps.
Right. There's a story.
As you can see from these, if you look at these footprints are not real big. And you can see fingerprints too. If you look in there, you see prints all over. You see the prints to that one where the heel crosses over the heel of another one. It looks like a butterfly. If you zoom in right there was fingerprints all over the ground right there.
You know what this makes me think of? How many people have said that they've seen children's footprints outside of their windows and think that and attribute it to spirits of young children on the property. And because everybody talks about ghosts and spirits and stuff. It's in the media and TV shows and stuff like that. But how many people are actually seeing these footprints and they actually have these rakes on their property and they're attributing it to ghost children?
Yeah, that's a good point. These things are an apex predator. Size doesn't matter. They are badasses in their own right. And I know that the Sasquatch absolutely hate them. They will literally like battle at each other over food. And I've seen that go on too.
There's a story. I couldn't find it. I can't remember which video it was I done, but there was a guy that shared an encounter with me, and the encounter that he shared with me, I'll share it with you, and you can tell me what you think. And this one really it messed with me. So these 2 guys are working in Oklahoma. There it is, northern Oklahoma. And while they're working there, they hire this other guy, and this other guy is like really needing a job. He's like down on his luck, you know. He's like, man, I'm a handyman. I can do a lot of, you know, anything. So I'll help you work on this house. So a doctor had bought this house. An encounter with me. Sorry, I was looking it up. And the doctor had purchased a home out in the middle of nowhere. Okay. So this house is like out in the middle of nowhere. And they're like, why does he want to fix this house up? You know, and this one guy's like, do you really care? I mean, he's paying us really good. And like, they were paying them way more than what they should have, which I think from now on that probably should be a hint to anybody. But they were paying way more than what they should have, and it was a good job. These guys were making good money, and they're working one day, and the other guy that they had hired, he was a Native American, and he said, "Hey, I'm going to go have my lunch," right? And he's like, "Oh yeah, okay, you know, go ahead, go have your lunch. That's fine." So he goes over to have his lunch, and he comes back in the house, and he's like white, right? And he's like, "Hey, dude, are you okay?" And he's like, "I don't know if I can work out here anymore." And he's like, "What do you mean, bro? It's good money." And he's like, "I don't know if I can work here anymore." And the guy never says anything. So the other guy continues working with this Native American they hired. So the next day comes around, and the other guy goes to go to lunch, the Native American, and this time he doesn't come back. So that guy goes outside and he starts looking around, and he's like, "Where'd he go?" He can't find him. Can't find him. So he gets on the phone. He calls his boss. You know, he's figuring, hey, this guy quit, right? He took off down the road. He's done, you know, took his lunch like a lot of people do, and they leave and they don't come back. So he says, you know, I decided to go ahead and finish the work for the day, and my boss would hire me another handyman to help me the next day. So the next day comes around. He doesn't have a helper yet. He's working on the house. He hears the Native American yell for help. He walks out on the front porch and he looks toward the woods. And whenever he looks toward the woods, he says he sees a deer. And he hears the Native American yell for help. The deer is laying down in the grass. He can only see the head of the deer. So he goes to his truck and he grabs his 30-30 out of it, just like every Oklahoma man usually carries, or a 30-06, and he heads off down toward the tree line. Whenever he said he gets about 30 yards from the tree line, he sees the Native American man wearing the deer's head. The front of the deer's, like the snout and all, is missing now. It's flat, but he's wearing the deer head with the horns and all, and he is eating the other part of the deer. And he says, I yell at him, and I'm like, what in the F are you doing? You know, it's like, you know, he said, this was like shell shock. You just don't see this. And he says, whenever I yell at him, he stands up and he runs below the hill. And he said, as soon as he runs below the hill, man, I put a bullet, you know, racked a bullet in it. And I'm like, what is this guy doing? Is he going to try to eat me? Is he gone crazy, you know? And he says he turns around, and here comes the Native American walking out of the brush, shirt all ripped up and everything, no blood on him. He wasn't the one wearing the deer head. And he says, dude, I followed a deer into the woods yesterday and I got lost. And the guy ends up not working there anymore. And they both quit.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to work there either.
No.
Yeah.
I'd be done with that.
So, you know, what was it a shapeshifter? Some people call him a mimic. You know, what was it? A doppelganger?
You know, I would say probably a shapeshifter. I've had an experience one time with a shapeshifter that blew my mind. Couldn't believe what had just happened. And never really gave it any thought or even believed in it or even thought about shapeshifters. But when that happened to me, yeah, it really it freaked me out so bad. It messed me up. That's a scary thing to experience, and I don't trust that they are good. I think that something's only going to take on a different look of something to fool you. So that's a nefarious thing to do, and I
Hmm.
think it shouldn't be trusted.
Yeah.
Do you think that do you think sometimes maybe that's why children are lured so easy to the woods is because these things take on the form of something familiar to the children?
Absolutely,
Hmm.
You know, I mean,
absolutely.
how many times, and this even happened to me. I mean, I when we were younger, we was down at my granny's house, and I was in the front room, and I remember hearing my mom out in the front yard. It was dark, and she said, "Sarah, come here, Sarah," you know, like she would. And I'm sitting in there. I think I was playing a video game or something. I was like, "Sarah, mom's yelling at you." And Sarah like comes out of the bedroom. She's like what? I said, "Mom's yelling at you." You know, she's out in the yard. And Sarah starts out the front door, and Mom comes to the kitchen door. She's like, "Sarah, where are you going? What are y'all doing?" And I'm like, thought I heard you hollering for Sarah outside. She's like, "No, I've been in the house the whole time." So luckily, I didn't send Sarah out and her bunny suit to her doom. But yeah, I was sending her outside because I thought that something was, Mom was out hollering for Sarah, and it sounds just like Mom. And how many times though have you actually been somewhere where you thought you heard your name called? Right? You're like, you know,
Well, when I was growing up, we didn't have central air conditioning at my mom and dad's. And a lot of times the windows were left open. And it would be just after it'd get dark, I would be in the back of the house and I would hear my mom call my name, and I would like run to that end of the house and like, what do you want? And she's like, it wasn't me. I heard it come through the window and it's creepy. It sounds just like me. And the same thing would happen to her. She would hear mom, and then it was a couple of years ago before mom got cancer. She's at her house, alone outside brushing her dog, grooming her dog, and I was here by myself with my dogs, and I had went out to let the dogs out, and I had my phone on me, and while I'm out there, I literally hear my mom's voice, and I knew when it's coming from the woods. I knew, that's not mom, and I just ignored it. My phone rings, and I answer it, and my mom says, she goes, yeah, she goes, I took a few pictures. She goes, I'm in the backyard brushing alley. And she said, I hear you calling me saying, Mom, Mom. And she goes, I thought I could see some things. So I took some pictures. My mom got the most unbelievable pictures of a group of Sasquatch like moving along in the tall grass, like just walking around back there, or they look like Sasquatch. It could be rakes. They're black, but you really can't see hair. And the other thing that was really pertinent in her photos were things that looked like dire wolves. They were big, they had glowing eyes, and they looked like the dire wolf. I'll have to look those pictures up and share them with you, Mike.
okay, yeah. Dana's got a question too. She says, "What is the difference, Shell, between a shapeshifter and a Wendigo?"
Well, I really don't know because I don't study shapeshifters. Now, the Wendigo, what I could answer you on with that is supposedly, from what I've been told, that it's Native American in nature, and they were people that were into witchcraft or witches or whatever, shaman that were bad or dark or whatever, and to when they wanted to leave this earth, when they were about to die, they literally had to eat the flesh of an infant, like a sacrifice, if you will, so they could carry on in this realm, but they would carry on in this realm as something else. And they would be able to, just like in they were skinwalkers before they became the Wendigo. So skinwalker is that, where it is done via black magic, and it can take on different animal forms. So the Wendigo takes on different animal forms, but I don't know if it was once a year or how often it was, but they have to consume human flesh to maintain that body or bodies or whatever it is to continue on in this realm. Um, I don't know a lot about it. I know that my daughter and her friends, she has some famous friends that I won't mention, they'd probably kill me if I did. They were all in Alabama, I think is where they were at, and they were all mud rutting on four wheelers, and they got themselves way out in the middle of nowhere. And they had all been drinking a little and things like that. They weren't drunk though, she said. Nobody was drunk because they were manning their four wheelers quite well and following these trails. And they stopped to take a break. Somebody seen a snake or something. They were messing with a snake. And then out of the woods, they hear what sounds like a woman screaming, "Help! Help me! Help me!" And then they started hearing their individual names being called for help. And one of the guys is like, "Oh, well, we got to go back in there. We got to go find, we got to go help somebody." And Cassie said, "Nope, wait. Don't move. Get back on your four wheelers. We're getting out of here." She goes, "That's a Wendigo." And they're like, "Oh yeah, we know who your mom is, Shell. Or Cassie, we'll trust you. Whatever Cassie says goes. We're out of here. Let's go." So, and my daughter believed it was a Wendigo.
That's one of the things I hope that I don't ever run into. I told everybody tonight that we was going to talk a little bit about the boo hag, and I think y'all are going to find this pretty interesting. What I found, and I think you're going to probably find it really interesting, Shell, because some of the things you said, I was thinking about what I had found today on the boo hag, which is one of the most nefarious, scary creatures of the Cherokees. And man, whenever you start looking at the characteristics of these creatures, they share similarities almost in motive. And so for instance, the boo hag, unlike vampires, they gain sustenance from a person's breath as opposed to their blood by riding their victims. Okay, that's where the old saying came from: if you let a cat in the house, it'll take the baby's breath. They believe
Oh.
that these boo hags are able to shapeshift. They are able to shapeshift, and they take the breath of their victims. Is one of the ways they kill you in your sleep. When you have that dream, you can't get your breath. That is
Oh yeah,
supposedly
that's happened to me.
that's supposedly the boo hag that is hanging over you, trying to take your essence. So they were also called witches. They sold their souls to the devil or made bargains with the devil for the power to change into animals, insects, and to drain their victims' spiritual essence, but it was not beyond them to kill, drink the blood, and to wear their victims' skin.
Mm.
One of the ways it says that you can distinguish between one of these boo hags is hags are very close to animals, and they will have dogs most of the time. They will be very close to dogs. Boo hags also. Now here's the part that I think you're really going to find interesting, and this is the Cherokee. They are as to the Cherokee as the Wendigo is in native folklore. Hags are very narcissistic and crave attention, and cannot stand to be wrong and always have to have the last say.
Hmm.
Hmm. Sounds like a
So,
narcissist.
yeah, and
Hmm.
The dog thing throws me off because, like, my dogs are. When it comes to cryptids, now I had a dog that was really tough with the whole thing, but my other two dogs, they're chicken when it comes to the cryptids, and they're the big dogs. So it's like yeah, that. I don't know. I don't know what to think about that, Mike.
and I think it's kind of one of those things that not everything has that habit, but it is probably a characteristic that goes with many others in maybe looking for it, because you could go and say that, most people that are drug addicts have a habit forming attitude,
Well,
or just because somebody is addicted to things doesn't mean that they will become addicted to a narcotic. But if they have that addictive personality, then they have a higher chance of being a person that would be addicted to something like that. Doesn't mean they will, just a higher probability.
what if the boo hag is actually like raising their own dogs and breeding their own dogs?
Well, it makes sense because it also says hags will also say that they are Christians while surrounding themselves with witches and gnomes or other fake deities.
Oh,
Oh no, something else that's completely creepy.
Uh,
right,
you know, there was a
right.
gentleman that used to co host with me, and he shared an encounter with a gnome when he was a child. And I honestly,
I
that
have
night,
I have a thermal of one running through my garden and blew my mind. It's something I didn't believe in. But like all this stuff, just when you think you've seen it all or you don't believe in something, it goes and proves that it's real. So I've gotten a couple pictures of those gnome things, but no, I'm not messing with that.
well, he pretty much had a breakdown on my channel when he talked about it. It was something that really, you could tell, really bothered him. Uh, I think this is one of the weirdest, and I'm going to be thinking about this when I'm out in the woods now because I looked this up today. But just tell me if this is not weird to you guys. The witches among slaves were supposed to have been persons who worked with them every day. They were called old hags or jack lanterns. Those both men and women who, when they grew old, looked odd, were supposed to be witches. Sometimes, after eating supper, the enslaved would gather in each other's cabins, which looked over the large openings of the plantation. And when they would see a light at the great distance, saw it open, they would shut their windows and say, "Lock the hatches. Here comes the hag." And if it came from a certain direction, where those lived from they called the witches, one would say, "That looks like Aunt Susan." Another said, "No, that looks like a man hag." Still another, "I think that looks like Uncle Rentry." Meaning, this creature was able to shapeshift and morph into familiar beings. When the light disappeared, they said that the witch had gotten into the plantation and changed itself into a person, and went around the place talking with the people like others until one person noticed and bewitched it, and it went into their bedroom. And whenever they seen it, it tried to take the breath of their child who was sleeping. It soon jumped out the window. They claimed that they rode human beings like horses, and the spittle on the side of the cheek when one slept was the bridle of which the witch rode. They are very attracted to children, and they also are known as the children stealers. They steal the children for the person they made the deal with, which was Satan. That is part of the bargaining chips. They are to attack the children.
Now,
Uh,
this kind of matches what I learned from J.C. Johnson about skinwalkers because he did the Four Corners and
uh,
he lived on the res because he was married to a Native American woman and they had a child together. And he was a cop. So he worked with the tribal police. And he said that you would be sitting in church on Sunday And the very person sitting next to you singing the hymns, that night, you could see them because one of the tribal houses would call in and the kids were home alone and this thing would be at the door and be at the windows and it would be changing shape. It would go from what looked like some people would say like dog man to coyote. Other things say that it would land on the ledge like a bird and just like keep like walking at the window and then it would change and it'd be something else, but it was intent on bothering the kids that were on the reservation. And it would do damage to the house trying to get in. Sounds like the same thing.
Mm.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, what are they?
So the bruja hag is what we called it.
The
So is that
the boo hag.
okay? So the boo hag. Now is that Cherokee folklore, or does it go beyond that into something else?
I mean, it says it's Cherokee folklore. It's one of the most menacing ones.
So what if the Navajo are calling the Skinwalker basically the same thing as the Cherokee are calling the Buhag? What if they're the
Right.
same?
And I think that happens a lot too because they're all going to have different names for what they see. They have different languages, so they would have different names, right? So
Right.
it makes you wonder: is that actually, what they're seeing? Is that
Sounds too eerily similar to not be considered.
and they're hunting children?
Yeah. There's actually a documentary on it. If it's still up, because T. Johnson that is passed away. I will look up, see if I can find that documentary, and I will send it to you, and you can listen to the whole entirety of it. Of course, I got to speak with him, so he probably shared things with me that's not in that documentary. But the premise of it, it's gonna rattle you as to thinking this may be the same thing, just different names because you're talking a different tribe, a different language.
Infinite says it sounds like the stalkers. They would take the children, cook them in their pots, pretty much. They were fascinated by children. They would steal children, call them their own. They would try to raise them as their own, and pretty much were very possessive of children. And if you look at it biblically, children are God's, pride. They are the most, important thing to him. They're the innocent blood.
They're innocent, yeah, complete innocent.
So what greater mockery to God than to hurt a child, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Since we brought that up and the word skinwalker come into it, can we talk a minute on that? Because I think so many people have misidentified the rake and started calling it skinwalker because they're illiterate internet people that don't know any better, and they're content creators that are hungry to get information out there. And so they're putting a skinwalker label like an umbrella onto a bunch of different things. And I think it's got the masses completely confused.
Yeah, it seems like everything right now, well, or it had been, people would just automatically, like Skinwalker was the
The
trending
go-to
thing.
word.
Yeah.
Yeah, the go-to word.
I'm wanting to get out and do some boots on the ground with this snow on the ground. Is what I've wanted to do.
I have done that. I have froze myself to death. And I will tell you this. The other night when you were out there and you're all so cold, I thought, I'm glad I've gotten all the evidences I've gotten over the year and as I experienced all that I've experienced. Because I don't feel the need to go out there and freeze to death anymore, Mike. I can sit in my warm house and watch you do it and go, oh yeah, that's that. Oh yeah, couldn't have done that. Oh, he's dealing with this. And it's I'm perfectly good with it. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah,
I get my fill through you now. I don't have to
I'm
freeze.
I'm going to push it a little bit coming up here. I got some places coming up that I'm going to be visiting, and I have some plans for this summer of visiting some islands and maybe staying all night on some of these islands to where people don't go. These are places that people don't go. And my theory is if you're not seeing them during the day, why would they not be on these secluded islands or these bluffs that are, not foot accessible? So I'm going to go. There's some caves in my area for people that don't know. And there's some really high bluffs. We have 70, 80-foot bluffs that have caves in them. And there is a place below those caves that is campable. And it would be interesting to put, a tent there and listen to the caves at night and to see what's moving around or what comes in or out of there, and maybe even make some calls into the cave, right?
Well, you know what? If you're going to do that, I would go as far. I would go as far as to set up a camp underneath that cave, and then have another campsite back a little bit of ways where I could see it all and hear it all, and yeah, see what happens with that campsite underneath that cave, and then be at a safe distance where you could, like
Right.
have some audio and stuff set up in there so that you can collect the audios and stuff that happen and be hearing it at the same time. I don't know if you have a parabolic ear, but I used to use
Yeah.
those in the field. They're really great. You know what? I will look mine up, see if it's in great working conditions, and be happy to mail it to you if you need one. Because I'm done with all that.
I probably couldn't use it. I carry so much equipment.
No,
It's
I mean when you're out doing a camp out where you can actually, use it as
right.
a tool.
Yeah, and probably somebody as bait would help too if you know anybody. We
Jesse,
could,
she'll volunteer. Yeah, Jesse.
yeah, tie somebody in front of the cave. But I've been warned by the natives around here for many times that I'm going out. They're telling me, seek not, want not, right?
Right?
Because they said there's going to be a time that it's going to try me, that it is going to give me the opportunity in their beliefs to either prove myself to be a warrior or that's the end of you pretty much. They believe, they take your soul, which to us would be they would kill you.
What is they exactly?
Well, down here, the elders know of shapeshifters, the Wendigo, the Rake. I've never heard them talk about shapeshifters, Wendigos, Sasquatch, and then there's these little people is mainly what's spoke about.
Hmm.
And Amanda wants to be bait. See how easy that is nowadays to find bait? You just put an ad out. But yeah, little people, Shell. My cousins had a run in with little people in
I've got a
Oklahoma.
lot of footage of them, and I didn't believe in it. I thought it was Native American folklore. I heard so much native stuff from my grandmother and stuff that I really thought she was just trying to get me everything that nightmares are made of. I thought she was just trying to see to it I had a nightmare every night about a different thing. I really did. But no, it definitely is a real thing. And yeah, if you guys want footage, I got it. I can share it. Crazy, but yeah.
And Ryan, I took notes on that. I will ask him about that. Uh, they Another thing they talk about too. I've never experienced this. Is a doppelganger, and they say imagine you're walking in the woods and you come face to face with yourself. Now, they say that there will be small differences. It will look different, but it's going to look like you. It's not going to be exact. You'll be able to tell that it's manufactured, but it's going to be like, you're going to know, hey, that's me, And they talk a lot about, at nighttime, you don't look out the windows at night, right? Because if you look out the window, the saying is you might see yourself looking back in the window, right?
Oh.
Right. My
And
uncles used to say that. Yeah.
he's from the Appalachians, isn't he?
No, they were from down there by
No?
you in Arkansas. Oh, east of you
Okay.
in Arkansas. They were from
Right. Yeah.
Arkansas.
Well, I don't know, Shell, but I have a theory. You remember whenever they had the folk Arkansas creature that was running around, right?
Oh God, yeah, because my cousin was killed by the oak monster. So yeah, I know.
Okay. So that folk monster was supposed to have traveled from Oklahoma through Arkansas and into Louisiana. It was that three-toed creature, the one that attacked the crab trees, right? So the three-toed footprints, I have seen those in my area. I'm not saying it's the same one, but it makes me wonder: is that you know part of the family tree? Is there a group of them that are maybe different, that they're uh, maybe exiled because they look different? They were, because in some of the Appalachians and stuff, whenever a child was born and he would be like retarded or he would have something wrong with him, they didn't want the child. So the child would be sent to a school and hopefully he was adopted. If he wasn't adopted, then he would spend the remainder of his years with other children that was like him. So what if that carried over because these things have such a human aspect to them, way of thinking, and they say, hey, you don't look like us. You can't be with us. You have to go. And then these have all got together and they have their own tribes. And, they
That that
could be
kind
the
of
crazy
happened
ones.
here. That kind of happened here. We had a group, a family pod of white Sasquatch that had like dark charcoal skin, but they
And
had
yeah,
pure white hair. They didn't have pink eyes. They weren't albinos. But, literally, there's supposed to be like seven different types of Sasquatch. And then, like somebody just said, Gugwe in there. The Gugwe, I did not see its footprint, so I can't go off of that. I did meet with the Gugwe and got, proof of all that. I don't personally think Gugwe, but what I think is it could be a different type of Sasquatch. Now, when you talk three toes, the wolf creatures have three toes, perfect print, but three toes on it, and they're very pointy. Now, are the prints that you're referring to, are they rounded like human toes, or are they pointed?
no, these, if I was to guess at what they look like, I would say they look like very large alligator feet, kind of, but with three
Well,
toes.
that's probably the wolf creature because that's pretty much what their feet look like. And then the reptilians are the same way. The reptilian footprint is three toes pointed, and it looks more like the heel comes down narrow and then it gets real wide towards the top. Where the wolf creature looks like a Sasquatch print, and then it has three pointed toes on top of it.
Hmm.
So, and another thing, and I know I don't know if you've seen the show on my shows. Have you seen the different feathers and structures I have found on the lake in the same place?
Yes.
What's your thoughts? What's your thoughts on this?
Well, it's been for years. They would gift me feathers, and I know it'd be gifts because the weirdness of the situation, like how would that get in the house? Um, for instance, my mom was the only one in the kitchen area. I was in the bathroom getting ready for work, and she mopped herself. You know how you mop yourself out of a room? She mopped herself out of the room, but then there's this great big black feather when she walks back into the room, right in the middle of the floor.
Mm.
and then there was dirty footprints from the back door and then out the back door, but it looked like it walked through the door, didn't open the door. Um, there's been my car has been locked, and I find a blue jay feather on the seat of my car, and like, oh, that don't make sense. I had owl feathers gifted to me sitting on top of my Bible when I woke up one morning, and I'm like, I had to look it up to identify what kind of feather it was. Guinea feathers. I've had those gifted in weird places that once again had to look up this feather. I couldn't even find anybody to identify it. And then my cousin had guineas on our farm, and I showed her a picture of it. She goes, "Oh, it's a guinea feather." Well, we don't even have guineas around here. So how did that happen? So, it's all speculation, and it's a magical thinking that, they've gifted you in some way. Um, I really don't know what to think, Mike, besides these things have happened. There's no explanation for it, there's no proof of it, except for those dirty prints going up to the black feather on my mom's freshly tiled, clean floor. That was the only thing that I could say, wow, it must be those Sasquatch giving us that. The other instance where I was gifted a feather, or there's been two instances that the Sasquatch basically were owing up to it. And one was, this is kind of a funny story. It was in September. It was where the nights are starting to cool off, and you can open up your window and you can turn the air conditioner off and let some fresh air in.
Oh yeah.
Well, at my mom's house, I had been going through that divorce and stuff. Me and Cassie stayed there for a while till I could get on my feet. And that's the place I grew up in. So they were no stranger to me there, that's for sure. I had been out all day casting prints and stuff like that. I come in, took a shower. Mom used to have to go to bed early because she is a delivery nurse at the hospital, delivered babies all night. So she would be leaving at the wee hours. So I was being very quiet in my room, and I had this little TV. When you go through a divorce, you start completely over. I had this little TV that you literally had to turn on with your finger with the button, and you had to, the remote didn't work, and you had to sit there and do everything. So I'm sitting on the edge of my bed. Now the window is approximately 2 foot to my left, and I had the window covered in heavy stuff, even had a quilt over it. So if I was in there and had the TV on, they would leave me alone. If they couldn't see the light, they would leave me alone. But if they could see light, they would drive me absolutely crazy at that window. So I had taken all that stuff back and tied it back to let some of that breeze in. I'm sitting there, and out of my first vision, I see something come up to the screen and like look down underneath, like 'cause the way I pulled the curtain back, it was kind of swooped. It's like something looked underneath the swoop and then picked its head back up. And I turned to the left a little bit, and I didn't see anything, but I could smell it, and it smelled like when you pull a saddle off a horse. So
Mm.
often the Sasquatch smell like horse to me. And I was like, oh, I know what that smell is. So I'm all about the encounter. I'm paying attention to what's next to me, and literally 2 feet away and a screen between us. It can stick its hand right through there and have me in a second. Is all I'm thinking of is, oh my God, I could literally be saying goodbye right now. Well, I sit there and calm myself and just trying to write it out, see what this encounter is going to be like, and what are they doing. Well, Survivor Man was on, and I'll never forget the episode. He was up in the Colorado Rockies, and he was talking about mustard greens growing on the ground, and his horses were ate up in mosquitoes. Well, then a commercial comes on, and I start hearing this clacking noise. Click, 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 click. It's going faster and faster and faster. And then finally, Survivor Man comes back on, and it stops. I sat through an hour of smelling the horse smell and listening to it clack its teeth every time a commercial come on, and it would get it more and more impatient the faster the clacking would go. And then that was it. Hours gone, show's over, and now something else is coming on. It stood there and clacked its teeth for a few minutes and then left. The next morning, I went out there to see if I could find any prints. And on a very skinny windowsill, there was a rock holding down the longest pheasant feather I had ever seen. And what was that? Was it a thank you for putting up with
Hmm.
me and let me watch TV with you and not freaking out? What was that? It had to be a gift. It had to be something with opposable thumbs to put a rock on top of the feather to keep the feather from taking off.
I found that just about 2 weeks ago. A feather with a rock on it on a cement slab facing, it would be the west toward the sunset.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like a lot of the structures that I'm finding along the waterway are facing the sunset. They're not toward the sunrise. They're always at the sunset. Um, did was you able to watch?
I've seen both, but I was going to say before you say anything else, let me say this on structure. Have you noticed that on the solstice of the summer, TP structures go up and they're tall and narrow, really tall and narrow, and then on the winter solstice, no, it doesn't matter how nasty cold out or what kind of weather's going on, there will be one built on the full moon of the winter solstice. There'll be another one. Anyway, go ahead. Sorry.
Hmm.
That's no, that's interesting. Did you happen to see the boots on the ground, or where Kaylee got scared and stopped again this last time?
Haley.
It's my daughter. She went out with me. She saw something on a boots on the ground that terrified
Then
her.
no.
On a Okay,
No.
it was on a live. Really hard on her that night. She broke down on the live and was terrified. She said she saw something that matched kind of that, that charcoal color running on all fours. She said it had no head. It was running at an angle to cut the vehicle off. Well, in that same area, back when I was about 16 years old, I was, riding in the back of a truck. My dad and mom were taking me fishing, and we had just passed the bridge area. And I was riding in the back of the truck, and when you're in the back of the truck, you're looking all over. You're looking off the bridges, you're looking through the trees, and you're scouting everything out. I was riding back there, and I was looking, and I turned and I look into the woods. And when I look into the woods, the way I always described what it looked like, and this is what's weird because everybody always talks about how big the werewolf head is, right? What I saw doesn't match that. What I saw was a large body, like built not like a muscle guy, like everybody says, but what I saw was more of a bear build, a barrel build. Um,
Mhm.
it was running on on twos, not on all fours. It was bipedal, bipolar probably too. It was running, and as it was running, the two things that stood out to me the most, the one that stood out to me really the most was the color of the hair. My dad was a smoker, and I always compared it to the cigarette ash on his cigarette. It was mostly white, but it had those black specks in it. And I remember seeing that. And the weird thing about the head on it was the head did look like a dog. It did look like a dog, but it was not this massive werewolf head. If anything, the head was too small for the body.
I know
The
somebody from your area that has seen the exact same thing.
Really,
From Ada, I don't know how close you are to Ada, but they live in Ada, and they seen it. They got a thermal out and looked at it, got a good look of it. They're describing exactly what you are describing, and they have decided that they think that it is the hyena dog man, which I do have a picture of one I can send your way and see if that lines up with what you've seen. But it didn't with what he was trying to describe, but he said it was similar. So Yeah, let's do that. Let's try to get to the bottom of that.
It's bothered me since, a lot of stuff bothered me at Granny's. I have a lot of traumatization from there, but it was it was in the evening time. It wasn't dark. We were headed fishing. It was in the summer, so it was in the evening. The sun was lower than the trees. It was shaded. It was cooler. But it was the way it ran. It didn't run bulky. This thing had grace. It had balance. It was going up. It's hill. There's like the main creek runs through there, but then you have little arteries that run off of that creek, and they're up and
Right.
down. This thing was flowing over those like nothing. I mean, it was just like it. The way it looked, I will never forget that. It was so graceful, so fast. And the weird thing
Parkour.
was, oh yeah, and it was so wooded in there that it wasn't having to pay attention, right? It was looking at me over its shoulder, and it is still traversing that kind of terrain. Well, we
Wow.
the way it was running is the way we was going to go fish. So I got out of the truck. We all walked down. This is kind of weird. We all walked down to the water by the bridge. I threw my pole out. We were catfishing. And whenever I throw my pole out, and I hadn't had my pole out maybe 3 minutes, and my pole, like, boom, I had a bite, right? I jerked the pole, got a fish. I start reeling the pole in. I caught a fish that was skinned in the mouth, not snagged. This fish was skinned, bit the hook with the worm on it, a skinned fish, scared the hell out of me. I had told mom and dad what I had seen. I don't think dad quite really believed me. And we were sitting there. It was getting a little later, getting closer to dark. And it walks over. It's down. I can show y'all on a video. I can take y'all to this spot and show you exactly where it happened. It walks out on the curve of the creek, which is down from us. You can see this big, bulky thing, the shadow of it, because the sun's now going down. It dives into the creek and it starts swimming toward us in the water. Dad, mom, grab our fishing poles, throw them in the back of the truck, and we leave. As we're leaving, this thing screamed like a panther. It was the god awfulest scream you've ever heard in your life. It sounded like a woman was just being torn apart.
What color was it?
Like cigarette ashes. Or, if you charcoal, how the
Gray.
charcoal will turn white and it's got the little black dots in it.
So it's the
It
same thing. You've seen it twice.
Oh yeah, because where we first seen it running, when I first seen it, it was actually running toward the other bridge that we were going to fish at.
Mm.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, some of the strangest things that happened to me going out fishing. I've seen
Oh
some
yeah.
of the weirdest things. Like this one time we went out and just take my mom out fishing after my dad died because that's what he did all the time, took her fishing. So it's just me, my daughter, and my mom. And we're out getting everybody set up. And I just sit down to cast my pole in. And along the bank, it, it literally looked like a prehistoric man with a bunch of furs hanging all over its shoulders. And like it had like a beaver head on top of its head, like a Native American from the 1700s would. And then the strangest thing, as it got close to the bridge, it just disappeared. Like the Sasquatch, and like boom, just gone. I'm not here. I'm not leaving prints. I'm gone. And it was just gone. And I couldn't help it. I was like, all right, guys, I'm sorry, we can't stay here. We got to go somewhere else. And I didn't want to scare my little girl, and have everybody in a panic. So I told my mom what it was as we were leaving quietly, and we went somewhere else. But yeah, there is things out there that people may be seeing, and they can carry the tale. They can they can tell it, but we don't have the footage of it. We don't have enough footage of some of this crazy stuff out there. Just like tonight, I come to your show, and I'm sure everybody else that thought they're coming to hear about the rake didn't know that the rake can be any color it wants to be. It can camo into anything, and it can look like the tree bark. It can go right up against it and look just like it. So, there's until a lot of people start coming together and getting this footage, unfortunately, we don't get answers. And people got to start cooperating. I mean, if there's going to be what people want to call a community, then it has to act like a community.
Yeah.
Then maybe we'll get somewhere.
Yeah. Gary wants to know how come they don't leave prints in the mud, grass, or even the hard ground. I have found prints. I have found a lot of prints.
I've casted so many prints I refuse to cast prints anymore. And I've got dogmen, I've got wolf creatures, I've got Sasquatch, you name it. But the thing is, they can just appear and then disappear. You may get one print, you may get two, you may get three, you may have a whole 500-foot track line. It literally is, to me, I think them walking along the veils, if you will, going in and out of them. I think some of them do just, they can glide above the ground. I've seen that happen. Blew my mind, kept me out of the field for 6 months because it looked like they literally moved at 60 mile an hour. I was terrified. There's so many different reasons why they do what they do and don't do what they don't do. I mean, I do believe they're interdimensional. No matter what realm they're from, there is some spiritual quality to a lot of this stuff. And there's probably answers out there that we have not even theorized yet as to why that can happen or why it's happening. But until we actually have proof of it happening, uh, it's all speculation, it's all just theory, and it's all opinion. And that was mine.
That's the hardest part about this subject is theory, speculation, opinion, hypothesis. Until we can, I think eventually with the better equipment coming out, better technology, that we're going to get better things, or we're just going to approach the end of time and they're going to reveal themselves in
Everything will be
Revelation.
exposed. Yeah, everything will be exposed. One thing that's new out that I wish that I had a second job going or something, because now they've got the mirrorless camera that's digital, and I'm so curious as to what would that camera pick up.
It's a what camera?
It's a mirrorless digital camera, so it's still digital, but it
Oh.
has no mirrors in the camera. And I do believe that's why we've gotten a lot of these pictures is because of the reflection. Like they can literally stand at your bedroom window and be reflecting into your TV, and you can see them. But when you look back to the window, you don't see nothing. You look at the TV, you see them. As long as
Right.
the TV's like off and black or whatever, doesn't mean that you're going to see them in the mirror. But they do. There's some kind of reflectiveness, and I think that has something to do with my old 35 millimeter camera to get pictures of them. The digital got the quality got even better as the digital quality got better. Now I'm working with 24 megapixel. I would love if I just these things are going to be really pricey just coming out, but what I'm working with now is about a $10,000 camera. I would love nothing more to get one of these cameras and try it.
You know, one of the things that freaks me out, you start talking about that, is mirrors, right? And, there's a lot of people right now talking about seeing things in mirrors and,
Things coming out of mirrors.
I was told a long time ago, even when I was small, you never face a mirror toward another mirror.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a video going around. I don't know how true it is. A girl actually done that, and she believed that she had created a portal, and she is allegedly still missing to this day after she stepped inside of it. But still,
Ooh.
it's you can find it on TikTok. It's been circulated quite a few times, and it's supposed to be a true deal.
Oh, I'm
Do
gonna
you
look
know?
that up as soon as we're done.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. I
I'm
mean
all over that because remember I shared that picture in your group where there was this demon thing that came out of the mirror.
Oh yeah, yeah. I seen that. Yep.
That I'm terrified of mirrors now, especially antique ones that you pick up at yard sales. I will
Oh
never do it again. That
well,
mirror came from a yard sale of a big old Victorian home, and I swear that it came with something that was attached to it.
that have the silver behind the mirror.
Yeah, and it's weird. When I first got it, I was living with mom, but I was starting to collect some things because I wanted to be able to decorate when me and Cassie got a place. And I picked up that mirror, and it sat in my mom's room, and you had to walk past it to go to her back bathroom. And she told me how much she goes, I hate that thing. I can't wait till you move. I was like, why does it scare you? You see your own image in it or something as you go past it, or what's the deal? I'll move it. And she goes, no, it's the mirror itself. And my daughter, I thought it was power suggestion that my daughter hated that mirror because she heard my mom say it. But my daughter also expressed how much she just that thing creeps me out. Don't put it in my room. I don't want that anything near. I don't want it anywhere near me. And so I put it in the basement, and I would pull it up and use it when I would do photo shoots with people. And the night that that happened, where something came out of it, I had it upstairs ready to go because I was going to be doing a photo shoot.
Hmm. Imagine you're brushing your hair, and all of a sudden, the one in the mirror stops brushing its hair.
Uh-uh.
You know?
Mm.
Yeah,
The brush would go flying at that mirror, and I'd be out the door.
yeah, I would be too. My phone is going to die on us, so guys, it's telling me I'm running out of battery, and I don't want to just end because then I can't end the show if it does. So, Shell, tell everybody where they can find you, and we're going to have to do a part 2.
Okay, sounds good. Shell Kaoke, Kaoke, Dion, Dion, on Facebook. Um, I have a like page. It's called Whisper Walkers. I don't share many of my pictures there, but lots of interesting stuff. You can find me on YouTube at the channel I'm talking on. It's Shell, lowercase, Whisper Walkers. Nancy's good at putting a link up. If Nancy could do that for me.
She will. I have no doubt Nancy will do it.
All right. Well, I want to thank everybody for coming. I've seen a few of my people that showed up, and thank you for your support always. And a lot of new faces. It's been wonderful to getting to meet everybody that's kind of, following you, Mike, and making their friendships. And I just want to say I appreciate that. I appreciate everybody and how kind you always are and receiving. And I just am appreciative to everyone, including you, Mike, and you, Jesse, for having me on tonight.
I appreciate you every time you come on. You have a lot of good knowledge, and you're easy to talk to, and you're a good person, a good friend. And like I said, we're going to have to do another part of this because I think the next thing that I want to go into, I'll give you a heads up, is I want to go into Spearfinger. That's the next thing that I want to talk about.
Okay, so I will have to read up on that. My friends Jackie Brill and Charlie Brill were the
Uh-huh.
ones that had the experience with me when I was investigating in Tennessee. They'll be able to do a live recording. They can't do a night show,
Uh-huh.
but they could do a recording with us, and they'll be home later in this week,
Okay.
next week. So we
All
can
right.
do
Yeah.
that, and I can just go into the whole Tennessee experiences not just what happened with them, but it would be like a whole show if we did like my Tennessee research and what I found where in that state because it's a big state.
That'd be fun.
Right.
That'd be
Yeah,
great.
what we'll do is we'll just put it all together. We'll do a daytime recording and then we can release it as a premiere. And
Sounds great.
the good thing about doing a recording too is we can take it either way. If it gets too crazy, we can go down that crazy road. We can release it as a Patreon and we can say whatever we want to. And if it doesn't go that far, then we can release it on YouTube. That's the good thing about Patreon. I love that it allows me that wiggle room because I do have videos on Patreon that would have already have had this channel deleted, no doubt. But
yeah, it would have been nice to be able to share the photos we couldn't share here tonight. But
we can always do that.
Patreon. How much is your Patreon?
It's the very minimum. I don't. What is it set on? Do you know, Jesse? I don't. I think it's like $4 and something.
Yeah, I think it's like $4 or $5. It's not much.
Because you've got stuff on Patreon I really do want to see. So it's a juggle. Do I want to be a member here or do I want to be a Patreon member?
Well, see, the problem is the members are getting ready to get a video coming up. I'm getting ready to do a video drop for members only. It's going to be a live. And I'm going to go into, you're probably going to love this. I'm going to go into the Giants and what our GOVT might be feeding us that's coming from them that people have no idea about.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I got to send you a ton of footage then. I have actual Giants with the comparison photos. If you want to use them, you're welcome to use them. You don't even have to have me on the show. But yeah, I will send you all that kind of stuff. Yeah. Oh, and I think I shared it with Jesse, but I had a Giant. I was going through stuff that through the winter I sit and go through the stuff I did in the summer. And I come across this one picture of a Giant that was like down. And what's cool is there's a size comparison next to it of this big propane tank. And he literally makes that thing look little. But his head, he's like down on the ground. And his head is super tall. And his hands are around two trees as he's sitting there looking between the trees. And guess what? If you count the fingers on the hand, there's 6 fingers on each hand. There's your true Nephilim, in my opinion, right there.
Well, I know that the Native Americans used to hold their hands up, when they meet somebody to, how.
Say how. Like, how many fingers are you showing me?
Exactly. 5 or 6. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
They were smarter than what people thought, for sure. All right, Jess, my phone is blinking red with no little bars in the battery. So I don't know how long I have.
Well, good night, everybody. God bless. Stay warm. Thank you, Shell, for being on.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. We will do it again for sure. I'm going to end this while I can because if I don't and my phone dies, I got to recharge it, go back on to end the show. So, guys, thanks for showing up. I love you guys. We'll see you on the next one. Good night. God bless. Thank you for the support. Be safe in the snow. Stay warm. Remember, carbon monoxide is a silent killer. I know you're trying to stay warm, but please have a detector if you're using anything in your house that eats up oxygen. Don't go to sleep and not wake up. We love you guys. We want you safe. We'll see you on the next one, guys. Thanks for watching.
Dirt road, midnight patrol, boots on gravel, I taste the mold. Dead cattle lined up, eyes still wide. You smell the iron, I smell the light. Abnormal investigations and the strange phenomenon. Yeah, we walk that line till the night is gone. Bigfoot breathing heavy in the tree line. Werewolves laughing at the blue skyline. Abnormal investigation. all claws, not a human hand. Witches in the quarry burn